What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Medi Man back again. DJ Medi Major, we here. Reaction, man. Just premiered moments ago. The gameplay deep dive for EA Sports College Football 25. I can't put into words how excited I am for this game. 11 long years, waiting for this to drop. Um, I think there are some things that are positives, definitely some things that could be perceived as negative. At this point, we don't know. It's way too early to tell. I know some media members have gotten opportunities to go play it. Respectfully, I don't take their opinion seriously. I just don't think that they're immersed enough in the sport or even video games to know how to properly speak to that, right? So let's get into it. Three biggest takeaways from the game: one, wear and tear system; two, player abilities, mental and physical, which is new; three, home field advantage. And then I'll give some thoughts about the U, obviously, because their ratings leaked. Not leaked, but there was a screen grab of our ratings, and I'll give my opinions on that. Now, first things first, wear and tear. When I saw this, the first thing I went to in my head was UFC. Like it felt like USC, and I think USC is coming to mind. A, because it's another EA product, but B, they showed on the screen like, hey, if a guy takes a serious hit to his throwing arm, that's gonna affect him for the rest of the game, even if he doesn't necessarily get hurt. If he takes a hit to his throwing arm, he's not going to throw the same for the rest of the game, right? Add in the fact that there's also now mental portions to the game as well. You got a young true freshman on the road, and I'll get into the home field in a second. Takes a hit to his arm, his confidence is rattled. You might have just lost the game just based off the fact that he's hurt. It's going to show you he's hurt, and his mental is. And when I go through this, I start having PTSD of Tyler Van Dyke. And I hate to make the comparison, but I mean, hey, I'm a surviving Canes fan. So, and mind you, he wasn't a true freshman, but I'm interested to see how A, the ratings go, B, if there's going to be an actual mental rating, and C, if that mental rating is affected regardless of class, right? So if I take a hit in a rowdy or raucous Big Ten SEC type stadium, they had a meter too. They have a meter that you can see on screen that'll tell you the stadium ranking as far as it looked like a 1 to 3 system. Because in the example they showed two examples. They showed Houston State for whatever reason, and that was considered a level 1 stadium, so it was raucous, but for the type of football they play. And then they of course showed Georgia, so Georgia was rated a level 3. So a level 3 at fever pitch with a possibly injured quarterback mentally and or physically, you could be cooked, right? And so what's everybody gonna do playing online? They're gonna go spam Georgia, right? Because Georgia has a natural advantage. SEC schools and Big Ten schools are gonna naturally have advantages. Do I agree with that? No, not necessarily. What I am interested in seeing is, regardless of that, does that carry over for rivalries, right? If we see Miami, Florida State, or if we see Miami, Florida, right? In a big time SEC environment, would I get the same energy in 2025 when Florida comes to not Core, it was Miami Gardens, right? those are two big things that I want to see that is interesting. I'm like I said, I'm also interested in just seeing the general response from a quarterback. I think that's intriguing. It's terrifying because how would someone like Shador Sanders compare to Cam Ward? We see Shador Sanders in big moments against TCU, right? But then we come out later in the season and realize that wasn't the TCU that appeared in the national championship game only a few months prior, right? That was a completely gutted team, basically starting from scratch. Does he do the same thing against USC? Is USC good enough to even get that or warrant that type of environment? Those are the things that's going to be interesting seeing going on. Second thing, player abilities, like I said, mental and physical. Um, the wear and tear is going to affect them, obviously, from a physical standpoint, but then that mental stuff, too. They gave an example. Shout out to Kirk Herbstreit, by the way. They gave an example of a true freshman on the road. Matter of fact, they showed Nico Iamaleava. So they showed him on the road in a raucous environment. He's not a freshman. He's a I'll call it red shirt sophomore maybe. He was in fact on a raucous environment, and his play art was scrambled. He couldn't see anything. He was cooked. Um, and it looked like, I can't remember what school it was, but it looked like another SEC school. So now you have an interesting perspective where he started games, and I'm sure he started games in the SEC. He got the nod late last season, but they don't feel like he has the moxie yet. Compared to also in that next scene, Carson Beck, who obviously is only a 2-year starter as well, technically, but just where he's been, what he's done, the games he's played, the moments that he's shown up, he has that mental attribute. He has that ability to kind of navigate those raucous environments and put his team in a position to win. And the game, just as of right now, because it's still early, don't got that same attribute for Nico Iamaleava. Now, naturally, I'm interested in my team, and seeing Cam Ward, who was a guy who was an FCS freshman All-American, two-time FCS All-American, one of the top 10 or top 15 passing leaders in America last year, despite how his team was. It's on record. If he would have had the same stats he had in Pullman last year in South Florida, he would be the all-time season passing leader at Miami, and that's a 40-year record. So does that translate, right? Third point, final point before I get into my thoughts about how they got Miami rated. Home field advantage. This is going to be interesting, especially as a Canes fan. All these other hot dog water fan bases I don't care about. Their schools I don't care about. Love coming from Miami about, oh, your stadium is always half empty, rented stadium. That's not even your stadium. It's the Dolphin Stadium, blah, 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 blah. But get quiet in any time in the past few years that stadium is raucous and packed. IEA, Notre Dame when they came to town. I find it so interesting how the narrative shifts with people in college football and how they talk about things when it's convenient to support their argument. It's weird, in my opinion. Now, I'll be the first to say, yes, our fan base is not as, or doesn't appear to be as invested as other places, but granted, it's Miami, Florida. The beach is literally a stone's throw away. There's something to do every weekend. We have major professional sports teams. What they're talking about, the Heat, the Dolphins, Inter Miami, the Florida Panthers. Shout out to the Panthers. Get it done. So we have things where we have places where we can invest our time and energy compared to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, it's Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You have to drive to another state to do anything. Like so naturally, yeah, it's a hot ticket item city. The Heat are winning. Everybody's at the Heat game. The Dolphins are winning. Everybody's at the Dolphins game. It's night and day. When the Dolphins was doing their thing last year with Tua and Tyreek, stadium was packed in the playoff run. Naturally, that doesn't happen in Miami because Miami hasn't been winning. That's fair. But don't pick and choose. Now, I say all that to say, with our actual home field advantage, I think it's going to be interesting in watching how it fluctuates. Because I think this year is the first time you're going to see it in about 6 years actually translate. When I say hot ticket item, I think the Miami Hurricanes are a hot ticket item. I feel that way. Apparently, based on these ratings, EA Sports and the people who create this game don't. However, just like Madden has instituted in recent years, I can only assume the same will be, and I think I've heard things that allude to there's going to be ratings adjusters, right? Things change. Teams that are hyped at the beginning of the year fall off a cliff. Teams that we never even took in consideration, they make a meteoric rise, right? It happens. Miami's rankings. Caught a quick screen grab, which was, for some reason, YouTube made outstandingly annoying. But when I was able to grab it, Miami was ranked. They were ranked 23rd. Now, I want to put out a disclaimer. There was a disclaimer on the bottom that said rankings aren't final. Things are still getting adjusted. Got it. But in that moment, they had Miami as an 84 overall. 80 offense, 78 defense. That might have been either my math is completely off, or if I'm taking in consideration like the law of averages in mathematics, and I did an average, that don't necessarily equal up to 84. However, I'm not complaining. Is it a solid score? A solid overall? I think so. Would I be a fan if I said I felt like it was low? Yes. But if I'm being objective comparatively to the rest of the teams in college football, you can make a healthy assumption that teams like Georgia, maybe Michigan, Texas, Ohio State, those teams with consistent recruiting classes over the last 10 years are going to always be in that 90 echelon, right? I think 84 is fair. Well, I like to see it 85, 86, sure, but at that point, I'm just arguing semantics. What throws me is the 80 offense and 78 defense. There is arguably going to be a top 15 defense player and Ruben Bain on the D line. You got Francisco Marianoa coming back, who you can have a conversation about being one of the best linebackers in the ACC. I'm not gonna say country because I don't have the scope to understand if it's in the country, but ACC, yeah, I'm pretty sure he was all-team ACC. Secondary is where I could be like, okay, that makes sense. But even then, and it might be because they're relatively still unknown, but Brown at corner, I don't think is a pushover. And Daryl Porter hasn't allowed a touchdown in, 2 seasons, I think? I think the first touchdown he's allowed, at least since he's been at Miami, was in the spring game. So 78 to me seems low. It's not bad, but it just seems low. But I'm interested in hearing y'all takes, man. Drop down in the comment section what y'all feel. If y'all feel I'm off, if you are new here, please hit the subscribe button. I appreciate y'all. Hit the like button, man. Comment. Let me know what your team is. Let me know what you're excited about, man. And if you're wondering if we're down bad, if we're looking crazy, if we're out of pocket, please understand. We good.